In today's segment of In the Legal Know, we're talking about a milestone every parent reaches, but one that carries extra weight when your child has developmental disabilities. Turning 18, in the eyes of the law, your child becomes an adult on that birthday. And that single day can change who gets to make decisions about money, healthcare, and daily life. Here to walk us through it is attorney Vincent J. Russo of the Russo Law Group. Vincent, thanks so much for being with us today. I don't know if you heard me say that you're one of our favorite guests. I mean, this week I'm happy to see any guest come in and join me here by myself, but you are. I mean, you provide so many really interesting things for us to talk about. And this one is something perhaps that people don't talk enough about. So let's start at the beginning. What actually happens when a child turns 18?
Sure. We don't want parents to be surprised about that event. Mm-hmm. It's a big day, 18. Mm-hmm. But what that means is that child of yours, especially a child with developmental disabilities, is now in charge of their life, and you have lost the ability to make financial, healthcare, and even daily life decisions for your child. So, you're used to filling out the school forms and managing a bank account. Now at 18, in most states, that child now is in control of their affairs, and you are out. Mm-hmm. The parent doesn't have any legal rights.
Right. So let's just talk about money issues, the financial issues of a developmentally disabled adult. What happens when the child turns 18? How can parents approach that?
Okay, so the key is to plan in advance and not be surprised by this. So there are always options, right? So a good option here would be if the child has capacity, the ability to sign a legal document, they can sign a durable power of attorney. And that would allow the parent, who's named as the agent, to be able to make financial decisions. So that's a really good step to be taken by the parent.
Mm. And what about, though, now, the medical decisions? Who gets to make those decisions when a child turns 18?
Yeah, and perhaps this is even more important, right?
Yeah.
The well-being of your child. And so for healthcare decision-making, we're talking about accessing medical information, making a decision in a hospital or giving direction to a doctor. So the child now is in control. Here again, if the child lacks the ability to make those decisions, then a legal guardian needs to come into play. But planning in advance, if they can make their own decisions, then they can sign a healthcare directive. In New York, it would be a healthcare proxy and a living will. Mm-hmm. And that document can authorize the parent or a trusted family member to make healthcare decisions. Also, there's a HIPAA authorization form that they can sign, so any parent or family member that they name could access medical records, which is so important.
And that's one of the many things that we sign. We go to the doctor's office, can we share this, with anybody else? And you indicate, who under HIPAA might be able to receive this information. So what I'm hearing from you is a lot of preparation is important, right? So what are the options that people have in decision-making and getting ready for a moment like turning 18?
Yeah, so let me just summarize what we've covered so far. So for financial decision-making, it's the power of attorney. For healthcare decision-making, it's a healthcare directive. Also, we talk to families about the use of a special needs trust or a pooled trust that would allow parents to have the child's assets put in a protective way while still accessing government benefits, such as SSI and Medicaid. A child can apply typically at age 18 for SSI, and if they have no other source of income, that creates an income stream. So those are the steps. But if the child cannot sign those documents because they lack the ability, the capacity to do it, then we're going to have to talk about guardianship.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's where these other decisions come in, right? Beyond financial, beyond medical, it's, who is helping to supervise in some way the decisions, what was otherwise an adult, what they're making in their life.
That's right. So personal decision-making now is critical. Where does the child live? What do they do during the day? Are they in a program or not? Who are they associating with? Are they following their religious beliefs by accessing, the ability to get to church, for example? So daily life is so important that we want to protect that child, but we want to give that child independence as much as we can. So a legal guardian may be necessary for that guardian to be able to step in a situation where a decision has to be made, financial, healthcare, or personal.
So how does that all work? You know, I mean, are the courts involved in some way with establishing guardianship? The person themselves, they have to consent in some way to all this?
Yes, all of that. Okay. So yes, it's a legal process. So a guardianship proceeding has to be commenced in court. A petition is filed. The judge is going to have a hearing. They're going to want to meet your child. They want to understand what they're capable of doing, not doing, and what's appropriate in terms of appointing a legal guardian. You want to do it in the least restrictive way because you want that child to have their own independence and autonomy as much as possible.
So, as always, when people are watching, they may feel a little overwhelmed by what Vincent is sharing. So where should they start? How does this all begin?
Okay, so timing, let's start early. So prior to age 18, don't wait till 18 or over and then start to figure out, well, I'll deal with it or I'm now in a crisis. Don't do it alone. Every family situation is unique. So I say go to a special needs attorney who's experienced in this area, who can lay out all the options and guide you as to what's appropriate and in the best interests of your child.
So this is so important. It's such helpful guidance. And like you said before, something that people don't necessarily really think about. So we're encouraging them to start thinking about it. Completely different topic, somewhat. We mentioned it, and we're going to save it for another show when you sat down. But a lot of this also might apply to a well child who's going off to college, right? That a parent needs to be thinking about these things, right?
Absolutely, and it's a great point you're making, and just so forgotten. Parents don't think about this. They've got a child who's really doing well, they're off to college, and God forbid they're in a car accident, or something happens, a medical crisis. The parent can't step in and do what they need to do. It's a terrible situation for the parent. So let's avoid that altogether by planning in advance.
Okay. Well, thanks, Vincent. Let's direct people to your website where all the information is for them to take a look at. So.
Sure. It's vjrussolaw.com, and we have a planning guide for parents who have a child with disabilities. And so it's free, download it, a lot of great information in there.
Thank you so much, Vincent, for being with us once again.